Go! Kia has a reputation for building inexpensive transportation, but they're moving up in the world. Prices are going up on some of their fancier models, like we have here. $62,865 for a Kia. So what are we getting here? These you've probably already seen the title, 2023 EV6 GT all-wheel drive. And supposedly there are no options, everything is standard, starting with the 576 horsepower, designed to outrun a Dodge Hellcat, I'm told. Going down with all the safety technology and luxury stuff, standard. But no, you know how these auto companies think, they just have to have an option somewhere. They're just addicted to it. Carpeted floor mats, $170. You have to pay extra for floor mats on a $61,000 car. Come on, guys, really? I'm waiting for the day when they charge us extra for putting air in the tires. I'm just not picking on Kia here. Almost all the car companies do this. In the 5-star safety ratings, hasn't been posted yet, but I'm getting a car to drive, not to wreck, so I usually don't look at these. I'm just presenting it for your benefit. By the way, we drove another Korean electric vehicle, the Genesis GV60 Performance EV. Oh, that was a nice one. You gotta watch that video. We'll have a link for that at the end of this video. That was a sweet ride. Doesn't cost much more than this Kia either. And we also drove a Mercedes-Benz electric vehicle. They say it's an SUV. I'm not sure about that, but might as well watch that video too. I'll have a link for that at the end of this video. 3 electric vehicle tests for the price of 1 free. We're at our test facility. Let's roll out this Kia and see what our 62 grand is buying. Certainly a nice looking rig, especially with this red metallic paint. And the front view. Pretty nice looking from the rear too. Fancy looking wheels, tires, and brake system with the lime green paint there. Makes it look cool. And as we do in all of our vehicle tests, we look underneath to see if there's a spare tire. No, there's not, just a charging cord, which seems to be a common factor on electric vehicles today. Not all of them, but quite a few. And like all of our tests, we'll be taking these headlights out in the dark and see how they perform. Definitely some strange looking bulbs in there. And to get inside, like many electric cars, you have the electric door handles. And again, I ask, what happens when you're in 20 degrees below zero and these freeze shut? Of course, if you're in 20 degrees below zero, electric cars don't function that well anyway, but that's a whole nother video. Let's take a look at the cabin and the positive features first. Number 1, the door comes all the way down the bottom, so it helps keep the rocker panels clean and dirt off your pants. Number 2, there's a lot of room in the second row seating, a lot of headroom for the passengers. And it's hard to see with all the glare we've got today, but the cabin is a modern design with a few flaws we'll talk about real soon. I was kind of amazed that a $62,000 car wouldn't have power adjustable seats. These are manual seats. It really doesn't bother me. I'm not a big fan of power seats anyway, but in this case, these are racing seats. Limited adjustments. No adjustment on the headrest. And I'll just get to the chase. You're either going to fit in this seat or you're not, which means it's going to be comfortable or it's not. So the first thing you need to do before you buy one of these is go down to the dealer and sit in this and see if it fits you. From the neck down, I found it to be very comfortable, but without an adjustable headrest, that didn't work for me on long trips, but that's me, maybe not you. We get a giant glove box, a lot of room in there. On the steering wheel, we have a drive mode button, giving you eco, normal, or sport. But for maximum power, I think Sport is like 426 horsepower, if I recall. We're looking for the 576. And if you want that, you need to press the power button on the other side of the steering wheel. We'll be demonstrating that a little bit later. The fun button. The gauge cluster is nice. Lots of useful information. But now we get some less positive features. Let's take a look. And I pardon the glare because, well, I can't do anything about that. The shiny plastic is not healthy for camera lenses. But number one, where is the menu button? Get in a car, you want the menu button. No menu button on the screen. No menu button on the console. Where is the menu button? So let's press something like map. Oh, there's the menu button, but the problem is now you have to do two things to see it instead of one. Alright, number two, it's kind of hot in here sitting in the sun, so where are the climate controls? Not here. I see a few here, but where's the knob for the temperature? Where's all this stuff? All I see is a button here and a knob here for the volume for the radio. So let's press something and see what happens. Alright, now the climate control stuff has come up. You have the temperature adjustment here. Oop, now see, it disappeared. If you want to do the climate control, you have like 5 seconds, and after that it disappears. So now you have two things to do instead of one again. Now what about the radio? Where are the radio controls? Alright. Oh, can't show music. YouTube will get mad. Copyrights. This whole system is, I don't use the word absurd, but not user-friendly. Everything you want to pull up, you have to touch twice instead of once. So doing this sitting down, fine, but driving? Oh yeah, and it gets worse. Now let's look at the map mode. All you get is a stark background with a bunch of white lines. Very annoying to look at 24/7, and people might say, well, why don't you turn it off the dark mode and put it in daylight mode? And I've gone through every menu I can think of, every menu I've seen, read the owner's manual, and this is it, folks. I can't pull up anything else. Now, if you know something different, make a comment in the comment section, but the point is, if there's something hidden in the manual somewhere to give it a better view, I shouldn't have to go through a book for half an hour looking for this. It should be something simple to remove, and this is what you get. What is really irritating is I've got on YouTube and saw dozens of reviews on this vehicle, and no one talks about this. Nobody talks about this goofy infotainment system, the goofy climate control system either. Again, pardon the glare, just all this plastic, which isn't very friendly to cameras. This entire system looks like it was designed by a 12-year-old. And I'm really surprised because normally when you get into a Korean car like a Genesis, Hyundai, and most Kias, they copy all the best benefits from Japanese and German cars, but on this particular car, just doesn't happen. Not a deal killer because I want the performance factor of this vehicle, which I think is going to be pretty good, but this is kind of annoying. It might not annoy you. Go down to the dealer, play with the navigation, go down, play with the climate controls. Might not bother you. Go for it. I'm just saying, it kind of bothers me. Does not appear to have an automatic dimming mirror cutoff. We'll talk about that in the night drive later. By the way, we have a very nice reflection in our plate glass window, and let's take a closer look at these headlights. Wow, got some nice bulbs that I didn't notice before. And that's low beam and high beam. Ooh, pretty bright. I'm told this is quicker than a Dodge Hellcat. If that's true, it might make it worth the 62 grand to me, so let's take this out and do some driving for part 2 of the video. Alright, let's start with the power steering, which is dead on arrival, has no feel or feedback at all, like a big piece of rubber. Stirring a spoon in a big tub of glue. But 99% of the people don't pay attention to the steering feel, so perhaps it doesn't matter. As we do in all of our videos, taking some mild speed humps around 15 to 20 miles per hour to see how the suspension performs on impact. This seems like a pretty smooth riding vehicle, so it should work out okay. Here's bump number 1. Yeah, pretty cushy. Number 2. Number 3. Good thus far. Here's the nasty one. Slight thumping, but nothing serious. Very, very comfortable. Pleasant thus far. One thing I like about mini Kias, you turn on the left turn signal and you have a nice camera here on the gauge cluster showing what's beside you without having to look in the mirror outside or just twist your head. Same with the right. Of course, the drawback, you have a camera in the outside mirrors. If the mirrors break, it's going to cost a lot of moolah to replace them, so don't break the outside mirrors. One thing I like about this vehicle, it's very, very powerful, very, very quick, yet very, very small, so you can squeeze in and out of traffic with ease. If you're someone who drives in a hurry, wants to do the Indy 500 in the 5 o'clock traffic, this might be the vehicle for you. None will do it any quicker, I can assure you that. So let's see, 73% charge, 157 miles. Not very encouraging for long interstate highway trips. I guess this is more of a city car. So, one thing we need to do right away is get off this public road and do some 0 to 60 runs and see how quick this baby is. One gripe I have with this vehicle when I first got it, there's just no sound coming out from under the hood or anywhere else. So we do have a program here where you can change the sound settings, and I put it on maximum. I know it's hard to see with the glare we've got on this dash here. But hopefully, it'll sound a lot better. Now we're on a private road, so we can go a lot quicker. Alright, let's hit the fun button and see what type of speed we can get out of this. With all the glare reflecting off the dash, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to see anything. 1, 2, 3, go. Go. And the first one wasn't on the power button. Third one is. Now we're back on the pavement, and with a low center of gravity, a good weight distribution, this vehicle handles pretty good. Not a race car, but definitely impressive, and there's a lot of sand on this road with the all-wheel drive. Is making sure that's not a traction problem. Yes, sirree. This thing does not have a lack of power. No problem unless a deer steps out in front of you, then that could be an issue. I'll have to say I'm very impressed with the way this vehicle takes corners, especially the tight, quick corners. It really hugs the road, there's no doubt about that. The brakes work great too. Haven't faded yet. If you push the magic power button, you can get across these corners a lot quicker. I think we already knew that, right? And if you decide to go off pavement, well, remember, ground clearance is limited. But if you do, driving on soft sand or dirt, this all-wheel drive has a lot of grip. Suspension does a pretty good job absorbing all the nasty ripples, too. It's just unfortunate this power steering is so dead. Not very quick and lack of feel, we mentioned earlier, but you'll get used to it, I guess. No, I don't want to sink in the mud today. All-wheel drive or not. They want this vehicle back relatively clean. Plus we're in a flash flood area, so 1 minute it's reasonable, and a couple seconds later it can be washed away. They make a great video, might get 1 million views, but then Kia wouldn't get their car back and they get a little upset. And just a reminder, if you're going to drive this quick, you really need to activate the sound system. Like an engine noise, it gives you an idea of what's going on, increases your perception. If you just have no sound at all, if you lose track of what you're doing, activate the sound system if you're going to drive like this, trust me. Make things a lot easier for you. By the way, I didn't mention this earlier, but a lot of this shiny plastic has a way of reflecting the sunlight right in your eyeball, like right here. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon. If you live where the sun shines, you might want to get some polarized sunglasses. I don't have any polarized sunglasses with me at the moment, so I just have to stick a bag over the console. Hey, it solves the problem, right? You know, this vehicle does have four-wheel drive traction and decent ground clearance. I wonder maybe we should go out and do a little mud bogging. That'd make a nice video, but you think Kia might get a little upset? Better save that for another time. So here we go, 2 hours worth of driving and 2 hours of waiting to get a charger on a Friday afternoon. Which is why you have to learn, if you're going to buy an electric car, you need to get a charger at home and charge it overnight. Unless you won't be doing this all the time. And after standing in line, we found out the charger doesn't work. What a surprise. I'll have to call Electrify America and get this resolved. Hey, it's only time, right? Alright, we got the charger working. One thing about Electrify America, their chargers often don't work, but at least their customer service is pretty polite and quick, so all it takes is a phone call or two. Alright, according to the magic numbers on the gauge cluster, if I want 80%, only have to wait 33 minutes, but if I want 100%, ooh, an hour and how many minutes? Should have brought a good book to read. Alright, we're done charging. Let's look at the specs. Got your pen and pencil ready? We had 43%, 95 miles when we pulled up. To get our 80% charge, took 38 minutes. Pumped us up to 175 miles for $13. Going the full 100%, which is actually 99%, took 1 hour and 2 minutes and gave us 220 miles for a price of $21. But I see our 220 miles drop down to 218 just by turning the vehicle on. And that 1 hour and 2 minutes does include the half-hour waiting line and the half hour to get the charger to work. Just thought I'd toss that in. As always, I said before, charging at home is practical. Using public chargers, not always so much. And that applies to all electric cars. It has nothing to do with Kia. So mathematically, it's costing us $21 to go 125 miles. And that $21 could buy about 6 gallons of gas, so how far can you go in your gasoline car? How many miles can you get for comparison? I'll let you figure that out. So what's my take on this Kia EV GT after a week of driving? You know, from my standpoint, there's only one real reason to own an electric car, and that's to get performance at low cost. If you want to go quick, it's a lot easier to use a battery than it is a giant gas-guzzling V8 engine, and this, they certainly succeeded. You take any V8 powered muscle car on the market now, this thing will beat about 90% of them and hang with about the other 10% most of the time, except a few exceptions like the new high output horsepower Corvette. But still, the horsepower, the speed, performance, the great looks, and overall excellent handling make this a great performance option. I'm very impressed. I'm impressed with the infotainment system, but hey, you can't have everything, right? If you're interested in an electric car but don't want a $62,000 price tag and all this horsepower, there are some more sedate versions of this Kia available. as low as 162 horsepower and range up to 310 miles and starting tab of around 41 grand. Perhaps one of those might interest you instead of this. Now for those of you who didn't see our night video, we took the headlights out in the dark and suddenly performed, did some night driving. We're going to show that now in part 3 of the video. So let's do it. Alright, it's dark enough. Let's check out these weird looking headlights and see how they perform. Oops. Hey, come back on. Alright, we're back in business. Wow, this looks pretty cool. Won't have a problem missing that. Now the emergency flashers embedded in the end there. Got flashers on the outside mirror. There's also a camera in there, so this mirror is very expensive. Don't break it. Now from the front, much better with the headlights off. Got a lot of bulbs in there. And look at that, lighting up the signs all the way down the street. And good illumination from the rear with the rear taillights off. Cabin lights up pretty well. Let's take a closer look. And here's what the camera system looks like in the dark. High quality, looks good. And all the other buttons and switches light up pretty good. Alright, checking out the headlights. That's what we're here for. Very bright on low beam, but the height is not very tall. Didn't clear the bushes. Let's go to high beam. Adequate in the middle, but not the light show I was expecting. Let's take it out on the street. Alright, no lights. Low beam. High beam. Reaches out in the middle, but not on the sides. And again, low beam cutting off. And this dude on the bicycle has the right idea. Certainly see him. And we turn on the left turn signal. You see we have a camera outside there in the mirror. Same thing if you click the turn signals on the right. We saw this in the daytime in my other video, but looks pretty good in the dark. And if you watch my videos, you know one thing I cannot stand are auto-dimming mirrors if they don't have a disconnect switch. I do not want to drive in the city with blacked out mirrors. It's not safe in my opinion, but there's no disconnect switch on this car that I've been able to find. If you know where it is, tell me in the comment section. I'll scroll through the menu more and more to see if there's a way to turn this off, and apparently there's not, as far as I can see. Now there is one way to turn it off, and you put a piece of tape on the sensor hole. Transparent tape works pretty good. It turns it off about 50%, but still allows it to work, but not tonight. You would think for the 62 grand we're paying, there would be a rear view camera with the reception being in the rear view mirror up here, but not this time. Maybe next year. Alright, let's light up some road signs here. Low beam, high beam. Doesn't seem to have much effect at long range, unusual for even moderate high beams. Alright, the dark, dingy street test. Don't want to run over any alley cats or drunks. Alright, there's nothing wrong with these headlights. I mean, they pass, they work, but for 2023, I expected something a little bit better. They certainly looked pretty good in the daytime, that's for sure.